Welcome to Coffee Break Tennis. Oh my God, are we in for a match tomorrow? The 60th, I think, pretty sure, 60th meeting tomorrow between Novak Djokovic, Rafa Nadal. Truly a heavyweight matchup in a tournament full of lightweights like Stefanos Tsitsipas, who just lost to Holger Rune, the Instagram kid. More on that in a moment. But first, let me just say about tomorrow. You know, there's some frightening headlines out there for the Raw fans, for the big three fans like myself. I consider myself a fan of all three. Like here's a headline. Rafa Nadal sounding weary. As tennis great admits, he'll probably only play for 2 or 3 more years. Here's a more daunting one. Metro. It could be my last match here, says Rafa Nadal as he makes a plea to Roland Garros over the Novak Djokovic clash. Yeah, it's the night match, which... for those of you veteran watchers of the sport, you know that's not good for Rafa Nadal. So we'll get into all that. But I just want to say one thing before we move on to the colossal failure of Stefanos Tsitsipas in this intro. It must be addressed in the intro. It's a big story. A lot on the line. Excuse me. I've been very sick. If you've been wondering where the hell has Coffee Break Tennis been, you'll notice there's no coffee today. I'm drinking a sensible French beverage, LaCroix. How sensible. Anyways, I've been very sick, so forgive me if I cough or anything, although I'm mostly over it. I'm ready to go now. I said second week we're going to go crazy, and let's go crazy, as they say. Anyways, one thing, we got a big match tomorrow with a lot on the line, and, you know, for the Djokovic fans, it might be time for sweet revenge. I'm going to say it at the front of the video. I don't like Nadal's chances tomorrow, but then again... Only a couple years ago, in the autumn edition of the French Open 2020, no one liked Rafa's chances there either. If Rafa Nadal is the greatest of all time, he might win that match tomorrow. And even if he is the greatest of all time, he might lose that match tomorrow, and that might be enough, depending, you know, like in this Tennis 365 headline, how many more seasons are we going to get out of Rafa? How is the foot going to be? Obviously... He won against Felix Auger, but there were rumblings that he wasn't feeling it 100% in the foot against that match. Yet, despite that, still managed to win one of our next-gen superstars, Felix Auger, who I thought was pretty good. I'll give credit to Felix Auger. There were moments where I thought this is where he's going to throw in some double faults and blow it, serving for a set or something like that, and he managed to come through most of the time. But Rafa, of course... no one thought that Rafa was going to go down that 5th set unless he was all of a sudden too injured to go on. And as we learned at Indian Wells earlier this year, when Rafa is very injured, he still can find a way to win matches, even against someone like Alcaraz. Anyways, tomorrow there's a lot on the line because if Rafa loses, even though you could still argue he's the greatest, it's going to be hard for him to hold on to that number one record, that important record, the most important to me, I say. That's why I say number one. The most Grand Slams. Novak Djokovic lost his chance at the French Open, the Australian Open, and a miracle that Rafa was able to get it. But he's got to get that French Open, too. That's almost like holding serve for him when it comes to holding on to the greatest of all time. Anyways... Let's move on to Tsitsipas. I got to mention that before we hit the music and officially get the show started today. Tsitsipas, I didn't see it, but I read that he was crying in his press conference and saying that he really, lost control of this match, that he didn't dictate play, he didn't put the kind of pressure on young Holger Rune, who, kind of like Carlos has one of those really long names. They got rid of it, Carlos, Beltran, Garcia, Alcaraz, something like that. I can't remember exactly. But I remember Holger's. It's like Holger, Vitas, Novoskofish, Rune, something like, okay, I don't remember either. But he's got all those crazy names. They shorten it, luckily, for him. But as we said in the last show, a week ago now, can you believe that? I've been sick for a while. It sucked, let me tell you. But happy to be back, of course. About a week ago, I warned you all. I said, hey... Don't you remember this kid? I saw a friend of mine sent me a text like, whoa, I've never heard of this kid. No one's heard of him until a couple months ago. Take a look. Let's watch this together. This is 5 years ago. And you'll see a heart on it. That's not because I looked it up to show you and put a heart on it. I put a heart on it 5 years ago. I said, hey, look at this kid. He's got a really big forehand. And one thing you'll notice in these clips that Holger Rune is really good at is this. It's all about that off arm, that left arm right there. That's really what helps you power. You need your hips. You need a lot of... Oh, listen to this. Inspired by big forehand Dominic Thiem, as you can hear in that. The first one, pretty Dominic Thiem-like. Anyways, there's another one. Here's one inspired by Juan Martín del Potro. So yeah, I've been seeing this kid's videos for a while now, and you'll notice, especially in this clip where he's wearing the Del Potro shirt from 2018, really good with that left arm. Very strong setup. That is key if you want to hit big forehands. Took me a long time to figure that out, even though I'd been taught that and knew all about that. It took me a long time to feel what it really felt like to use that the right way. Anyways, last one right here. Notice this. What does he say? Holger Rune, what would you do if you had only one day left? Hit as many forehands as possible. He's really into the forehands. Anyways, so today against Steph Tsitsipas, a lot of talk about his backhand. Take a look at this graphic. Really good with the backhand up the line. A lot of talk about his drop shot. You know, I'm watching this match thinking, hey, this kid, you know, you see him wearing the Del Po shirt. He's inspired by Dominic Thiem, whatever. He's inspired by all these players. There was one of those, the captions on them, in fact, said, I'm working on my Rublev forehand hip rotation. So, yeah, once you get the stack, I feel like you stack. The hips kind of line up this way, and the shoulders line up a little past it. And then the hips fire, and then the shoulders whip. And that's how you blast forehands. Like I said, it took me a long time to figure it out, but I can do it pretty well now. It's a great feeling. Ask Holger Rune. Anyway, so Holger Rune, inspired by them, but I'm thinking the last few months, which is like my friend texts me, we haven't heard of this guy. Yeah, he beat Zverev a month, 6 weeks ago, something like that. But these last few months, what's happened in tennis that would have grabbed Holger Rune's attention as it has all of our attention? Of course, that's Carlos Alcaraz. Big forehand, great drop shot, young and full of energy. So I think Holger Rune, he must have seen young Carlitos, Charlie, and he must have said, hey, I got a big forehand. I could rip my backhand up the line. I've got a great drop shot. Take a look at this one. Tsitsipas didn't think it was so great today. But there's a good stat for you. I got a nice drop shot. Why can't I be like Carlos Alcaraz? Why can't I be like Carlitos? Doesn't have the nerves of steel like Carlitos, maybe. And here's another one. Take a look at this graphic. By the third set, really imposing himself, taking the ball earlier, getting up in that baseline over 50% of the time. Now, Tsitsipas was crying in his press conference, as he should have been. And he basically said, you know, he wasn't doing that. He wasn't dictating play the way he could have. He said he played in a way that had worked in previous matches like this, I guess meaning against, you know, young nobodies on the tour yet, in Holger Rune's case maybe. I guess that's what Tsitsipas meant, and it had worked before, so he just stuck with it and thought this kid wouldn't hold his nerve. And sure enough, up 5-2, Holger Rune gets so incredibly nervous that it makes it look even worse for Tsitsipas that he didn't find a way to win this match. Holger Rune, up 5-2, loses 8 points in a row, immediately makes it 5-4, and then throws in a double fault for 9 points in a row, pretty much just handed over on a silver platter, served to Tsitsipas. And then Tsitsipas finds a way to play nervous and lose. Anyways, take a listen. You don't believe me, he was nervous. Take a listen to how nervous he was when Marion Bartoli came over and asked him this question.
And you came up with serving winner, aces. It looked like the pressure is just sliding on your sleeves.
Slides off your sleeves.
Is it really true you're nervous? Because I can't see
really
it at
nervous?
all.
I can't see.
Yeah, I mean, I was very nervous, but also at the same time, I know if I know, you know, go away from the tactic and against such a player like Tsitsipas, I'm going to lose for sure. So I told myself just to keep
You can hear the voice like
and
quivering.
play my plan and you know, also on the tough moments, and it worked out so well at the
He's
end.
very
and that
nervous.
just gave me, you know, huge confidence boost. But I mean, it's just so great to still be here.
He might be more nervous in that clip talking to Marion Bartoli than he was closing out the fourth set. Anyways, I just got to tell you, this is all great for Holger Rune. It's exciting to have a young face out there for people to get excited about. But I think long term, I'm pretty worried about Holger Rune. You know, he's from Denmark. He's Danish, like Caroline Wozniacki. And he has now become the first man. He's tied her, second person to get to the quarterfinals of the French Open. But now he is the first Danish man to make the quarterfinals at the French Open. And he took out who people have said is, you know, myself included, said the new Prince of Clay and Steph Tsitsipas, the new Prince of Clay. Dominic Thiem was. We know how he feels about Dominic Thiem. And now Tsitsipas is out. So you could say that he is the Danish Prince of Clay. And folks, I'm no Shakespearean expert, but I could have sworn that there was a guy called Hamlet in a Shakespeare who was a prince, a Danish prince, like our Danish Prince of Clay. And I think things went very poorly for him, actually. I don't think things worked out in the end for old Hamlet. In fact, I'm pretty sure that he had to kill his uncle and falls in love with his mom, marries his mom. Maybe, I might be wrong. Is he the guy, he gouges his eyes out after having children with his mom because he couldn't bear to see them? And then he wanders the earth as a blind beggar. Very miserable. Anyways, I'm not saying, look, I don't want to get on the wrong foot here. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but if he is our Danish Prince of Clay, the most famous Danish prince would be Hamlet. Anyways, let's just listen to one more question from Marion Bartoli. I'm not saying he's going to marry his mother or kill his uncle or any of that stuff. Let's just listen to one more question from him.
No question.
One more question.
One person is really important in your life, is your mom. Yeah. And I was watching you.
Welcome to Coffee Break Tennis. We're fully loaded today. We're action-packed. We're spinning rackets on our fingers. We're gonna go crazy. Happy to be back. So deathly ill last week. Wasn't sure if I would make it. To quote the butler Carson, butler of a great house, life is short, death is certain, and this is all we know. And certainly the end of the big three, as Ian Westerman, who wrote a book. I got it somewhere. You should buy it. I heard it's already on the pre-orders. It's already the top-selling tennis book on Amazon. Check it out. Essential Tennis by Ian Westerman. Anyways, Ian Westerman rudely reminded me last week that the big three aren't going to keep winning everything forever. And I actually thought they had. I thought they might. I thought they would have a chance. I thought, by the time they're old enough to retire, they would get like robot hips. Andy Murray did get a robot hip. Rafa would get a robot knee, robot ankle, something like that. But the technology has not kept up. Anyways, happy to be here, happy to be alive still after my bout with the illness. And we're going to go right into Tennis 365. That's enough about Holger Rune and his whole Oedipus complex thing. Is Oedipus Danish too? I think I mixed all that up. It's not good though. It never works out for Danish princes. Just ask Hamlet. Anyways, Tennis 365. Rafa Nadal sounding weary. As Tennis Great admits, he'll probably only play for 2 or 3 more years. Now, that's kind of a misleading Tennis 365 headline there because the Tennis Great they're talking about is not Rafa. I don't think Rafa said that. And I think Rafa's actually made it sound worse, but that's Chris Evert. Chris Evert said, he's sounding weary. There's so much more that comes with being a professional tennis player than playing a match, but he sounds so tired. The respect I have for him because he is 35 years old and he can keep getting psyched up every single day for these matches. And then Chris Evert goes on to talk about how she got burnt out by the time she hit her early 30s, and she thinks that it's, taking a toll on Rafa. Now, okay, that's her, and Rafa's Rafa. We all know he's different. He is special. But let's go to the man himself, and Das Mitro. It could be my last match here. Rafa Nadal makes plea to Roland Garros over Novak Djokovic clash. The match with Djokovic could be my last here, said Rafa, and I know Roland Garros by the day, and I would prefer to play by the day. But I don't have a recent test against him because my last match against him was here last year, I think. So I did not play this kind of a match in the last 3 months. 3 meses. It's going to be a big challenge for me. I think he already won the last 9 matches in a row, winning in the row. Now winning here on the streets, that's every match. He'll be very confident. I know what my situation is. I accept it well. And I'm going to fight for it. I can't complain too much. I am in the quarterfinals of the Roland Garros. My favorite tournament. Anyway, so you heard Rafa say it there. My favorite tournament. It's his favorite tournament. And he hasn't played Djokovic recently. Although the last time they played in slower, colder conditions, of course, was 2020. And he blew him away. So although my prediction is Djokovic, because it seems like this is too much, if he is going to be the greatest of all time, even if he doesn't win the French, if he can just stop Djokovic from winning it, let Holger Rune win it. Things went well for Hamlet for a while before he married his mother, who's very important to him, as Marion Bartoli pointed out. Anyways, let him win, let somebody else win. But as long as you stop Djokovic, this could make it still very possible for Rafa to find a way to hold on. This year, not ideal the way he's come into the French Open. We all know how things have gone in the clay season for Rafa. And, of course, what happened to Chapo? What happened to Rafa when he lost to Chapo? Oh, man. Poor Chapo. Lost to Holger Rune in the first round. We put a star by it on the draw. My draw looking pretty good. I mean, I got the quarterfinals perfect in the top. Nole and Rafa, Zverev and Alcaraz. Although, who was going to upset that? I mean, that was the easy part, really. But the bottom part, I mean, Sinner should have won today. Did you see Sinner? Then he's got this thing on his knee. Then he's getting, I mean, they kept showing a shot of him like this. It looked like he's riding a horse. But he's just getting his knee intensely worked on by the trainer. He's bouncing. And then Ruble's like praying, like, please, I want him to retire. And the matchup is bad there. Wait, wasn't I talking about Rafa and Djokovic? Just let me say this really quick about Rublev and Sinner. Backhand to backhand, Sinner is definitely better than Rublev. But with Sinner's knee, it was the left knee. He wasn't able to set up and hit his backhand like normal every time the right way. So Rublev was trying to go backhand to backhand with him, and Sinner kept finding ways to win, hitting drop shots. You know, if you keep tagging my backhand, eventually I'll hit a backhand slice drop shot right up the line. Sinner hitting more slice backhands than I'm used to ever seeing from him. Wasn't able to set up on that left leg like normal and go after it. But even then, he still blew Rublev off in the first set and had his chances to win the second set. Was able to hold serve, doing a great job dictating with his forehand, unlike Tsitsipas. And Tsitsipas was in that second set. That was like the stat that stood out. Tsitsipas did way more damage with his forehand. Anyways, Rublev, I should have been right there because Rublev really got lucky. Sinner was taking him to town, taking him to task. Medvedev is going to play Cilic. That's happening right now, actually. I'm doing this show now because I wanted to get a show up soon and make sure there was no chance that I blew it or was feeling too tired after watching that match later. So we'll talk about that tomorrow night. We'll mention we're gonna do a show. I have one last commitment for the rest of this French Open, and that is tomorrow. I have to. Luckily, I hope I'm feeling good enough to do it now. I hope one more night of sleep one more good sleep, as Roger would say, will be enough for me. I got to run a 5-hour tennis camp tomorrow. Whew, might be brutal. With some little munchkins. Anyways, but after that, tomorrow night, I'll get back in time to watch the great match, Djokovic and Nadal, and we'll have a late night podcast, audio only, sharing my thoughts on Djokovic, Nadal, which I do think Djokovic is going to win. Anyways, so my draw looked really good here. Rude is probably going to come through Rune, and I would say Rublev is through. Very interesting to see Rublev and Medvedev. Should be Rublev, but I've seen Rublev look really choky against Medvedev at times. He is the senior Russian on tour. Anyways, so Medvedev, can he get past Cilic, though? Cilic, he's got to like his chances to go. He could possibly get to the finals. Cilic could make it back to a Grand Slam final. It's not impossible. Like, it's amazing. Like, this was a great draw in the bottom half. Totally wasted on losers like Hubie who smokes doobies. Tsitsipas, who I know I really like Tsitsipas, but he blew a big chance here today. I mean, this was a cakewalk, you would have thought, for Steph to get to the final. And instead, Rafa gets like the hardest draw of all time when he least needs it. It feels like destiny is almost against Rafa. That's why if Rafa wins, he is the greatest of all time, especially if he takes the tournament. It's going to be hard for Djokovic to catch him. And if Rafa can go through this, you know, Rafa, like think of 2017 U.S. Open. Rafa's had so many easy draws. If he can come through a draw like this, at a time like this, even if he loses the Grand Slam record in the end to Djokovic's longevity proves to be the ultimate factor here. He's going to be so beloved for the heart it's going to take to win this match tomorrow. Anyways, we'll get into that tomorrow. Let's go back to this. 2.5 weeks ago, says Rafa, even if I have positive hopes after the run, I didn't even know that if I would be able to be here. So I'm just enjoying the fact that I am here for one more year. And being honest, every match that I play here, I don't know if it's going to be my last match here in the Roland Garros in my tennis career. That is my situation now. Of course, I went through a tough process again with my foot, so I don't know what can happen in the near future with my career. And then for those of you out there, I'm sure somebody out there is going to say, Matt, why is it doesn't matter if Rafa plays at night? You know, some people don't know. Excuse me. The remnants of the illness. Explaining why he dislikes playing at night earlier this week, Rafa said, "I don't like to play on clay during the night because the humidity is higher, the ball is slower, and there can be very heavy conditions, especially when it's cold." Of course, he did it. 2020, different shape now than in 2020. Rafa, pretty fresh that year. Obviously, he hadn't played all freaking year because of the COVID. So we go from that. We see Rafa, delicate situation he's in. Whereas Novak is in the perfect position for him to take advantage. Ultimately, big part of why I think he's going to win. Take a look at this one. Give me sport. Novak Djokovic, heavily booed at the French Open. And, they quoted some commentators out there saying stuff like, "Oh, this is just a shame. How come they don't show respect for Djokovic?" Which I agree with all that. But to me, and I think John McEnroe actually pointed this out, but I couldn't find the quote exactly, so I didn't bother with it. But I think he says, what this article quotes people from Reddit, of all places. And these fans on Reddit of tennis were right. So let's read what they said. And I think John McEnroe said something pretty close. Fans were quick to realize how little Novak Djokovic cares about the reception, walking in and being booed, how it actually spurs him on. One user replied on Reddit saying, "This is the moment he knew the match won't last for too long." I mean, take a look at the picture. You can kind of see it. You see the first picture, Djokovic kind of like surprised. And the second picture is like, "Oh, okay. I see. I will destroy you now. I will destroy all of you stupid Frenchmen." And he speaks such good French, and yet they're still giving it to him. I guess it just goes back to the beginning of the tournament where, he was giving it back to them. The very first match, Djokovic, they were giving him a hard time early on and cheering against him so much that he kind of got fed up with it. And then every time he hit a winner, he's just doing excessive celebrating. Didn't quite rip his shirt off, but might as well have. And Djokovic, he likes to do that. I like to do the same thing. Anytime that there's a crowd in a match I play in, which, believe it or not, happens sometimes, and they're rooting for the opposing team and going against me, I do everything I can to piss them off. I hit a winner and taunt them. I've done that before. It's a good feeling. It's really I don't know. To me, it's the only natural way to deal with people behaving like that towards you. And Djokovic obviously has become the master of the art form. Anyways, I hope the crowd will keep booing him. He plays much better this way than when they cheer him on. Here's another one. He comes a long way from when he used to get so upset if the crowd was against him. Now he just gives a wry smile and waves. When will people learn? The more you boo him, the more powerful he becomes, says another. I mean, that is so true. And then they say Djokovic was booed repeatedly at last year's U.S. Open before he was eventually shown some respect after he was defeated by Medvedev. I don't know if that's true. I don't think he was booed in that final at all. I think the crowd was so on his side from the beginning, and that's ultimately, I think that's why he lost to Medvedev. I think that took his edge away. So if you want to see Rafa go down, keep booing the guy. Hit the music. We got to get out of here, but we'll be back tomorrow night. I strongly believe that. Was there some more stuff I wanted to get to? I'll say this, Zverev, I'm fairly impressed with Zverev that he has battled through the tough matches, but I don't think it's doing him any favors coming up against Alcaraz. I was surprised that Norrie didn't make it through. Alcaraz, his first match, Ramos Vinolas, Alberto, I put a star next to it on the draw because he has been one of the most consistent winners on clay for, the last 10 years. Ramos Vinolas has been very good on clay. And I didn't think that he would almost beat Alcaraz. Alcaraz had to save match points. But an incredible match from young Charlie Alcaraz. I was wrong about when Seb Korda lost, but he sure did go down like a stack of pillows when he came up against Charlie Alcaraz. Anyways, comment below your thoughts. Is this the end? Is this how it goes down for Rafa? He doesn't win here, maybe never wins another major again. Is that too harsh? He certainly doesn't trust his body. I don't think anyone does anymore, but we all hope that he can keep winning. Of course, watch the match tomorrow. Comment your thoughts below. I'm going to say Djokovic in 4 sets. I think Rafa is going to have a hard time. He's going to fight hard. He's going to manage to win at least a set. He might be able to take it 5. Of course, he could win. And if he does, wow, what a story that's going to be to tell. Can't wait to be back late tomorrow night, and we'll talk all about that match. Rafa, Novak Djokovic, meeting number 60. Go watch it, and we'll be back. See you!